couldn't not be here, Dale. So happy to be here.
Well, you guys have been a part of this for years, right? I mean,
yeah, I want to say 2002, maybe 2001. Our first year we participated, and I've been here since our inception. So
I've got to ask you about real estate, because I drive by the TD Garden and I see this gigantic expanse going up next door.
Oh, wow.
It is an amazing project you guys are working on.
Yeah, no, thank you. Listen, it's been years in the making for what you see today, and listen, there's still a lot of work to be done, but you know, visitors, event goers to the TD Garden now have a vastly different experience than they would say even a year ago. And we've added some parking, we're actually expanding the TD Garden itself, and there's roughly 2 million square feet of real space is being developed right in front of the garden itself. So a lot's underway. Some will be done this October for the opening of Bruins and Celtics seasons. And then the majority of the work will actually be complete during the season itself, and by next October, everything will be operational.
But still, will it be easy to get in and out for people going to the games?
Yeah, so, you know, if you've been to a garden event, whether it's Celtic Bruin or a concert, you've usually walked or entered the garden, if you will, from either the east or the west side of the building. And that never really was the intention when it was built originally. It was supposed to be right down the middle, right sort of down Canal Street, if you will. And that will become a reality this October. You'll be able to walk right into North Station, go upstairs to the TD Garden or to the commuter rail, right from Causeway Street. You won't have to walk a block back, as everybody's been doing for the past, I don't know, what, 15, 20 years.
I've seen the artist renderings, the clubs and the nightclubs and the restaurants and all of the things that are going to be available to people.
Yeah, you know, it's we have a whole project inside the garden itself, a whole team, I should say, that's working on the project of delivering what we call best in class for 2020. And what we do internally and talk about is sort of who sets the bar in terms of the in-arena experience, the high bar, if you will, in the league. So there has been some talk that maybe Edmonton, when they opened their new building, was perhaps the best experience in arena for hockey or basketball. And Detroit with Little Caesars sort of reset the mark this last summer. And we aspire to sort of change that, the high bar, if you will, when we open all of our different concepts in 2020.
How do you feel about your team? I mean, you guys have a nice mix of experienced players, but also a lot of youth on the team as well.
I think it's a great mix, personally. So I feel really good about it. You know, we've got an interesting preseason coming up. We got half our team going to China and half are going to stay here. So it'll be tough for us to really gauge entirely who's on what path. But for the observations and the feedback I've gotten about the kids that were in Providence last year, or maybe played a few games in Providence after their season was over, we've got some really good young kids coming in, and I can't emphasize that enough. And to sprinkle that in with the Ryan Donatos, the kids that got a taste of it last year, and then you add that, you know, wonderful layer of Patrice, Marsh, Pasta, of course our captain and Zdeno's got some little juice left in the tank, and Carlo and McAvoy. I'm really Dale, I hope you share the sentiment. I mean, we've got a great young team coming. We won 50 games last year. I hate to put pressure. I don't know what Butch said or who was in here before me, but I like to think we got something in our back pocket like that coming up this upcoming season.
You mentioned China. This was the second straight year the Bruins have visited China in the off season.
Yeah.
Taken players over and begun an initiative. You've hosted teams here who have visited. Tell me how this whole thing got started, because you guys are really at the forefront of this.
Yeah, well, we were fortunate enough to have a big fan, Mr. Joe, who is chairman and CEO of ORG Packing, who happens to have a residence here in Lexington, Mass. And he is a big hockey fan. He plays goalie. And he's been a big supporter of ours, sort of activated here. When I say here, I'm talking about when the NHL, they get upset if you talk about National League, right? That's their territory. Well, we could talk about Boston. They also get upset when we talk about China. We were planning to go to China and promote the Bruins brand and the National Hockey League. So, well, wait, you know, that's actually in the NHL's market. So there were two teams that went over last year at the request of ORG, and And Mr. Joe had always said, listen, I want the Bruins to come. I want the Bruins to come. I want the Bruins to come. And so we're going to go. We've had some youth clinics there. We've had some different exercise and fitness programs and from associates of ours that have gone over. And this year we're actually playing preseason games both in Shenzhen and Beijing. So it's going to be a great trip. It's 10 days. We're in and out, but hopefully we'll taste the culture. And I hope, you know, much like in 2010, if you recall, we went to Prague right before that season, that 10-11 season.
And what happened that year? Let me think.
Goodness. So let's make this a bonding experience. Let's make this one. Let's try to rewrite, or I should say, take a page out of the playbook, not rewrite it for what had happened in 2010-11.
I don't know who else to talk to about this. I don't like the playoff format in the NHL. Can I pass that on to you? I don't like how it has to be the divisions early on. Can you go back? Is there any chance they would change that down the road? Because it just feels like, especially with the division being as loaded as it is, the conference finals will really be the semifinals.
I agree.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, you know, that's an excellent point. It's one that's been. Let's go talk to Gary together and try to get this done, because I feel the same way. I like the 1 and 8 seed. I do feel like, you know, we ended up. Listen, we played Toronto with, I don't know, they had, what, 2 more points or 1 more point than us. But it was entirely, in my opinion, needs to be reset. So, you know, I agree the 1 and 8 and the wild card, whatever you want to discuss about how that goes between, let's say 1 and 8. And then subsequently 2 and 7. That's right. But let's reseed afterwards. And so the highest remaining seed, let's play the lowest remaining seed. Let's not do this again.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got the venerable Bill Belichick down in Foxborough, who is the dean. But the other 3 franchises in this town have young, up-and-coming coaches/managers. Alex Cora here at Fenway, Brad Stevens with the Celtics, and you've got Bruce Cassidy, who I think really opened some eyes last year.
He did. You know, Bruce is quite a coach. I think he took a lot from what his experience was in D.C. And I can't discount, of course, what he did in Providence and what he's done as associate coach here. But I tell you what, having the younger team that we do, I think that the players really align with his messaging, and that is so important when you've got a young roster like we do. You know, it's not. And I'm not disparaging any of the other coaches, but it's just that sort of messaging, that youth, let's go, go, go. That's quick ups, quick. That's the kind of game that we want to play, and the young guys want to play. I think to borrow a phrase from one of our over-the-air broadcasters, is the cardiac kids, right? I mean, we're back and forth, up and down the ice. And Cam would get upset with me if I kept, you know, if I used a comment about. About some of our broadcasters, but anyways, it's a inside joke, I suppose, Dale. But anyways, it's going to be a fun team, and I think Butch really does align and message well with the kids that we have on our team.
Is there motivation from the other teams in the city? It feels like for a long time now, all 4 teams have been really competitive, but now you guys look at it, Patriots are always a Super Bowl contender. The Red Sox have the best record. The Celtics are the team to beat, at least in the East right now, and they have had a resurgence over the last couple of years. Is there any kind of keeping up with the other teams? Is that a motivation at all?
You know, it's asked every year. Geez, everybody's doing so well. How about you? Is that motivation? Of course it's motivation. Yeah, come on. We're in competition for that discretionary entertainment dollar. But, I mean, we're always in I would like to measure ourselves against the other 30, well, now 31. Well, other 30. The 31 clubs in the National Hockey League. I think soon to be 31 when we get another expansion team out west. But, yeah, I mean, listen, people ask, well, what do you do? I don't really watch that much of the other sports. I watch the other hockey games, right? I watch, if I'm on the East Coast and we're done with our game, I usually turn on something on the West Coast before I go to bed. I appreciate it, and the Celtics are wonderful partners at the Garden, and I love basketball, but honestly, hockey consumes most of my time during the season, as it should, right? If I'm not watching the Bruins play, I'm trying to measure how we are against maybe some other club out there. So I focus on the National Hockey League.
Well, we sincerely appreciate your help here again, as always. You guys have always been a big part of this, and we thank you so much for coming by and lending your support, as you always do.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, I'd be remiss, gentlemen, if I didn't mention a few things. We are going to support, as we have in the past, a level of $25,000
Thank
for this
you.
part.
Thank you.
And then this year we'd like to donate. We just had a loss in our Bruins family over the weekend and Monday. Bob Beer's wife passed away from breast cancer on Monday. So we'd like to do this donation this year in her name. As you know, you've been on this air probably, this is your second day?
No, yeah.
Cancer.
No, this is the first day of these two, yeah.
It touches everybody in all shapes and forms. So with that regard, we'd like to make this donation this year in her name.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we'll accept it, and our condolences to Bobby and his family as well.
Okay.
Good to see you, Charlie. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I'll see you soon. I'll see you at Warrior soon. Yeah, I can't wait. Charlie Jacobs, CEO of Delaware North's Boston Holdings.